Tidying up in restaurants and cafes is a lifestyle choice that now comes at a cost. As of this week, new laws mean there'll be heavy penalties if you're caught smoking in an eating area. But that doesn't faze those with a die-hard habit, who can still enjoy the safe haven of outdoor cafes.
I believe you should be able to smoke in areas such as this, but inside I think it's reasonable to not have smoking, as the smoke can't permeate into the atmosphere and you have to chew it up with your food.
Smokers will now be hit with a $550 fine, with restaurateurs also facing a hefty penalty of $5,500.
I think it's great. It doesn't really infringe on anyone's rights to smoke. It just allows the other person to have some rights as well.
It's nice to get away from all the cigarette stench and everything, and just to eat a meal without the taste being affected by other people's smoke.
But hotel and club owners still have another 12 months before the state legislation comes into effect, and they say one of the issues will be defining just what a smoke-free zone is.
Of course, in our establishment, hotels and clubs, we have a different set of circumstances where the dining area is not a dining area 24 hours of the day, and in fact might only be for 6 hours of a 24-hour trading period.
The first of a series of meetings on the issue gets underway next week. Helen Kapelos, NBN News.
Newcastle born and bred, Shane Price became a top-grade regular with the Breakers in the mid-90s and club captain. Needless to say, his decision to leave wasn't made lightly and wasn't simply over outstanding superannuation payments.
That was an out for me, the super payment, I think, and that's all it was. I wasn't too worried about that money. I think there's bigger issues at stake, and for me personally, it's got to do with the future of the club and a few personal reasons as well.
Price is being pursued by the Perth Glory, but hasn't ruled out a return to playing for his hometown, a place he'll have plenty of reasons to miss.
Most of all, that feeling in the dressing room shed with all those players. The players that come in only this year, there was a bond there straight away. So I don't think I'll find that anywhere else. But that's gone, and I have to move on.
Price and Greg Owens obviously won't be in the team to play the Northern Spirit tonight, but 15 other players who were prepared to walk out will. And the Northern New South Wales Soccer Federation released a statement today saying that given the crisis, it's urging Soccer Australia to immediately negotiate with the Federation and its financier about reinstituting the safety net, meaning the fallback option for a Newcastle team in the National League. Con Constantine, meanwhile, says he's out of the race for now.
It was a new-look Breakers outfit in more ways than one. This match, the first without captain Shane Price and teenager Greg Owens, who've both left the club. Given his chance to impress, keeper Brad Swancott looked good with the gloves, while Andy Harper shouldered arms as well. The only thing Asala Massey pounded was the ball, but neither his shot nor John Bonavolia's follow-up could pierce Northern's net. Ex-breaker Scott Thomas, though, got all tied up with Bonavolia just minutes later, earning a yellow card and a shot from the spot that Andy Harper fired off. Glenn Moore found his way onto the booking sheet just before half-time, and then to the sideline with a cut mouth. After half-time, Bonavolia became a moving target, but Newcastle just continued to break the Spirit's defence. Chances came thick and fast. New recruit Daniel McBreen just unable to finish off Brad Widgerek's good work, but when given a second chance on goal, he didn't disappoint. As a thick fog rolled in at Birmingham Gardens, Brad Swancott kept a close eye on things in front of goal as things remained 2-0 and sending the team into the final against Marconi tomorrow afternoon. But question remains on just how much longer players will wait before more leave the embattled club.
The Aboriginal Legal Service says while young offenders are being isolated in Worimi Court's 2 holding rooms, according to safety requirements, others are kept in a cage, a claim denied by Juvenile Justice Minister Carmel Tebbit.
The covered walkway is not a holding room and should not be used as a holding room, and I'd certainly be concerned if it is.
In fact, it is used to keep prisoners. It's used to keep prisoners, as I understand it, on a regular basis and at least weekly.
The service says the closure of the Worimi Detention Centre means there's no remand accommodation between Mount Penang and Grafton. As a result, families living north of Newcastle have trouble seeing their children, something which it says breaches Australia's United Nations commitments.
The 6th biggest city in the country, Worimi having been closed, does not even now have a juvenile remand facility.
It's simply not possible to have a juvenile justice centre in every part of the state that addresses some of the concerns that have been raised.
In the absence of proper accommodation, 1 police officer escorts every juvenile at Worimi, a huge waste of resources according to their association. According to both the Aboriginal Legal Service and the Police Association, the answer is to create a mini remand centre by refurbishing the cells behind the courthouse which have been closed. But the Minister did not agree with that proposal.
No, in fact, the Minister said that this facility is closed and it won't be reopened.
So what's next?
Well, we'll just continue to lobby. At the moment, as I said, it's costing significant amounts of money for the policing services in this area to continue.
The rugged terrain of the Wollamai National Park forced a bushwalker and 2 paramedics to wait until daylight to be winched out.
The tree line's extremely high, very thick canopy and just very rugged going.
The Westpac rescue helicopter responded to a call late yesterday after a 46-year-old man from Sydney fractured his ankle and was unable to walk out of the park.
It was very dark in the valley then, and we made our way to where the people were and decided for safety reasons to stay overnight.
At first light this morning, the helicopter returned to the region, airlifting the bushwalker to the John Hunter Hospital, where he is in a stable condition. Brooke Webster, NBN News.
If it's a peaceful life you're after, Duns Creek near Patterson is the place. The lack of noise and views like this have prompted a Newcastle-based developer to lodge plans for a $25 million eco-tourist resort with Port Stephens Council. With accommodation for around 3,000 people, a 5-star hotel, entertainment centre, restaurants, cafes, even an underground rifle range, the concept, covering 220 hectares, has angered locals.
It's very difficult to explain to people the distance between total silence of just the bush and nature to 24 hours a day construction noise and traffic.
We bought a rural setting and now all of a sudden they're talking about a tourist resort that has the capacity to support 3,000 people on a nightly basis, or close to 3,000 people. So no, I don't think it's the right area for it.
The company, Mahogany Ridge Developments, says construction could take years, with the completed resort eventually employing more than 1,000 people.
We do impact studies on the animals, the wildlife and the effect on nature, but where was the impact study on the human being?
Residents will rally at the Duns Creek Bushfire Brigade shed tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Named after an early pioneer of the Newcastle racing scene, James George Cameron, the handicap is still a draw card 65 years after it was first held. Throw in perfect spring weather and the Newcastle Jockey Club was on a winner.
Look, if you were complaining today, you'd be very hard to please, wouldn't you? It's a magnificent day.
But of course, backing a winner was another matter. You'd almost think a horse named Adam, ridden by Christian jockey Darren Beedman, would have the right connections, but the experts had their own ideas.
Condotti, I think the Gay Waterhouse trained Condotti will be hard to beat. His first up win in the Concord Stakes at Rosehill was good. He'll get a nice run behind the speed and he'll run out the 1400 strongly.
In the betting ring, form guides were being studied and money changing hands, and curiously another horse emerged as favourite.
There has been a little bit of money for King Konkani already. It's opened up very short on the toe.
Eventually, punters big and small gathered trackside to watch the feature, and after a delayed start due to gate problems, they were off and racing.
Milan Princess a length in front. Ken Concane's drawn level. They're clear from Adam Condotti and spying. Ken Concane trying to gun down the mare. Milan Princess with a kick. She drew clear of the Toowoomba horse, and Milan Princess for the Cameron.
Mulan Princess paid a kingly sum of $10.70 the win and $3.10 the place, the Quinella $12.90, the trifecta $268.70.
Sadly, athletes using performance-enhancing drugs has become an all-too-common occurrence. But instead of risking bans, fines and side effects of these often dangerous drugs, athletes now have the opportunity to boost their performance legally using natural means.
What we're hoping for is to develop a program where we can actually analyse somebody and individual's specific requirements for vitamins, for amino acids and so forth, and then by matching those offer specific alternatives for them to enhance their performance.
University of Newcastle researchers are also hoping to offer their new tailor-made supplement program to normal people.
We see the program as extending to the whole community. We've got corporate executives that work 20-hour days and want to be able to sustain their long hours.
The university is also set up as a drug testing facility. One client is the Newcastle Knights, but it's looking to expand, offering its services to amateur sporting associations to screen up-and-coming young sports people.
I think it's very important to target the younger players, particularly at this time with the Olympics on. There are going to be a lot of young aspirations to try and meet the grade.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
Surf House has $1 million views. Unfortunately, it comes with $1 million renovation price tag. The building, which was abandoned in 1995, has fallen into a state of disrepair, and its owner, Newcastle Council, is in a bind over what to do with it. A 6-month campaign looking for a private investor to jointly renovate and run a business from the building has been fruitless. Just one community-based group showing interest.
It really doesn't look good. In my mind, it doesn't look good as far as the future.
Council's options include continuing the search for an investor for Surf House or pulling it down.
It would be very difficult to agree to a building to be restored when really there's not much interest from the community in putting it to any use.
Pulling down is not an option. I don't believe that building ought to be removed or dismantled. My very serious contention is that it should be restored.
The differing opinions of councillors over Surf House will be debated over the coming months. Blake Doyle, NBN News.
It does provide a lot of financial assistance, but it also gives us the grounding to be more competitive with governments for tendering and contracts because we're of much more reputable size.
Again, we're going to be very young next year and maybe a little bit inexperienced, but the talent is enormous, and I think there is several guys that will take the next step and play first grade during the year.
With views like this, 3 kilometres of cycleway from Greenpoint Drive in Belmont should be a winner. Another step towards a pathway around Lake Macquarie. But it wasn't easy for Council to get the Commonwealth to match its $500,000 in funding.
We had great difficulty in persuading the bureaucracies in Canberra that there is the potential to create jobs from this project, but we proved it at Warners Bay. The Hunter Valley Research Foundation did a study that showed that well in excess of 250 jobs have been created.
With Belmont's waterfront lagging behind other suburbs on the lake, it was the prospect of more visitors to the area that finally swung the government. Senator John Tierney believes his support of the project justified, as the hunters' unemployment dropped by 0.1% today, thanks to the very industry the cycleway will promote.
We're now down to 7%. You've just got to think back 4 years when it was 16%. It's under half that. The hunter economy is booming, and it's happening in things like tourism.
The Mayor of Lake Macquarie just hopes the project, which could be complete by Easter, will reflect the success of its neighbour.
There's now, I think, about 25 eating houses now, restaurants and so on in Warners Bay, and prior to the walkway going in there were about 5.
General Duties, Highway Patrol and Plainclothes Police formed the squad which focused its attention on Newcastle's known trouble spots last night. One aim of the operation, to provide a very public presence. Most vehicles were marked and even plainclothes police in uniform. From inside a patrol car, suspect vehicles seemed to stand out like beacons. Expired registration, bald tyres, faulty lights, often pointed to more serious offences, such as driving without a licence. The heavy police presence provided a quick response to calls. One person arrested for attempted car theft after a call from a resident. Police warn the saturation of city streets is not just a one-off.
We're putting out the same amount of strength and probably more while the Olympics are on. We'll be running these operations as much as we can, but we just wanted tonight to let people know that we are running them and we will continue to run them.
The operation continued until dawn, random breath testing, checking dozens of drivers. Jim Sullivan, NBN News.
You spend a lot of time trying to get up there and you slip. I slipped twice and I just lost my energy, I had nothing else left. Giving it my best shot, but that's about all.
Near perfect conditions and a 1/2 to 1 metre swell greeted the competitors at Catherine Hill Bay this morning. For many of them, like Merriweather junior Louise Picton, the Rip Curl Grommet contest allows juniors to gain competition skills while enjoying the beach.
It's fun, get out there in the water. To everyone else, it's good.
It provides, I guess, a start to a career path, a possible career path for them. Bear in mind, this sort of contest is sort of entry-level contest because the ultimate goal for a kid in a career path in surfing would be professional level.
Louise had a successful day, while some others are still getting the hang of it. Last year's premiers, Lambton in the red and blue, started the grand final with a solid attack. Lambton's Chris Layer an early casualty. Cardiff had 2 early chances, being held up both times. Lambton's Norm Sheether copped a falcon, and then the blue and red attack began, with Nam Wakalivu being disallowed this try for pushing. The half-time hooter brought with it a try by Lambton's Tony Blankmore. Converted with a huge kick by Ben Porter. The second half went all Lambton's way, the scoreline 13-4.
Now based in Melbourne, Stu McColl spends little time at home in Charlestown these days as he continues his rise up the Australian racing ranks. After a disastrous start in the Formula Ford Series, he broke several track records and won a string of races to get him within reach of winning the title. With the title in sight though, it all came to a crashing halt.
Unfortunately, I didn't qualify as well as I'd like and got taken out in the first race, which basically ended my championships.
Putting that behind him, he's now chasing a ride in the faster Formula Holden class.
They're the fastest cars we've got here in Australia, and I tested one a few weeks ago at Winton and went extremely well with it.
Just turning 21, McColl wants to be the first rookie to win the title, but first he has to secure a drive.
The main thing is I've really got to find the sponsorship money to be able to complete sort of the Formula Holden series next year and beyond with my motor racing career.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
And we're working on developing the online product.
One-time teacher and principal Paul Nightingale has now led his business to become the #1 educational software provider in the country. And now he's even turned his hand to motivational speaking, sharing the key to success.
I don't think there is any secret. I think it's just hard work, and what you have to do is just keep going and trying and make it work.
Addressing the Newcastle Business Club this afternoon, Paul had the opportunity to highlight what he feels success involves, saying that fun and cooperation are two major issues in running a business smoothly. And if his business is anything to go by, it's advice well worth listening to.
We actually produce software not only for Australia now, but for the USA, for Canada, Ireland, England, and at present we're working on some negotiations with India.
Nightingale has even expanded into the lucrative wine industry, and by following his own advice, he could be just as successful in the vineyards as with educational computer software.
It's starting to grow tremendously well too. We look as though we're going to be doing some exports to Asia very shortly.
Adam Harper, NBN News.